Tony Romo is coming off his best season. The Dallas quarterback passed for 4,483 yards last season. He's down on the field with Andrea Kramer. Andrea.
Thank you very much, Al. Well, Tony, last season the Cowboys won their first playoff game in 13 years. So what does this team need to do to continue its ascent?
Well, I think that started a long time ago. It's not about tonight or, anything going forward. That process started way back when, and we feel confident about our team, and now we got to go out and prove it.
You go up against Mike Shanahan's Redskins, a different team, playing a 3-4 scheme. What do you expect from their defense tonight?
Well, schematically, I think they're a little bit, like Pittsburgh and Green Bay, and they haven't shown much on tape, so I'm sure they'll have a lot of new wrinkles, and we got to be ready for a lot. But we practice hard. We'll be ready.
All right, Tony. Thanks very much. Appreciate your time. And Al, tonight is the long-awaited debut of the Cowboys' first-round pick, wide receiver Dez Bryant, who missed the entire preseason with a high ankle sprain, but he's already earned the nickname Spider-Man for his acrobatic catches.
He's going to be a lot of fun to watch. We'll see him a lot on offense and also running back punts tonight. Graham Gano, the 17th different kicker for the Redskins over the last 11 years. And Akwasi also Ansah, a rookie from Indiana University of Pennsylvania, to run it back. 90,000 on their feet, biggest stadium in the National Football League, and they're roaring as the kick comes down and is fielded at the 8-yard line. And brought back to the 26-yard line as we take a look at the Dallas offense.
Tony Romo, Eastern Illinois University.
Marion Barber III, Minnesota.
Deion Anderson, UConn.
Miles Austin, Garfield High School.
Roy Williams, Texas.
Jason Witten, Tennessee.
Doug Free, Northern Illinois.
Montre Holland, Florida State.
Andre Gerard, Colorado.
Leonard Davis, Texas.
Alex Barron, Florida State.
Chris talking about that offensive line, minus 2 starters, Mark Colombo and Kyle Kozier. They open up with 2 tight ends here. And the fake to Barber. Romo rolls, and their first play of the season is a pass for a first down, caught by Miles Austin, who had a tremendous breakout year last season. That's a gain of 15 and a first down for Dallas.
Well, how are they going to protect this offensive line? They go unbalanced right away. The tight end right over here, the tackle on the left-hand side. Give the Redskins a little bit of a new wrinkle coming right out. They want to attack Alex Barron. They want to attack Montre Holland. The 2 guys filling in for Kyle Kozier and Mark Colombo.
First down at the 42. Short drop. Romo checks off, throws over the middle, and that's caught by the number 2 tight end, Martellus Bennett. Let's take a look at the Redskins' new defense, a 3-4.
Adam Carricker, Nebraska.
Maake Kemoyatu, Utah. Kedrick Golston, Georgia.
Andre Carter, University of California.
London Fletcher, John Carroll University.
Rocky McIntosh, the U. Brian Arakpo, Texas.
D'Angelo Hall, Virginia Tech.
Reed Dowdy, Northern Colorado. Ryan Land, LSU. Carlos Rogers, Auburn.
Second down and 3. Here is Barber, and he'll pick up a first down. And one fellow, of course, you didn't see introducing himself in the starting lineup is the $100 million man, Albert Hainsworth. He'll get his name mentioned tonight, but of course he was the big story all offseason here in Washington.
Yeah, he did not perform up to expectations during the course of preseason. He will only be in probably in nickel pass rush situations. We'll explain as we go along.
Barber, big hole over the left side, and D'Angelo Hall is there to stop him, and that is close to a first down. So the Dallas offense comes out very sharp.
And Brian Arakpo is going to take a hard inside slant here, and the Cowboys had the perfect play on. They went just outside where he was, and so far this Cowboys offense that had been struggling to run the football in preseason looks pretty good running it.
Now you have Hainsworth in the game. You also have Dez Bryant in the game. 88 for the Cowboys, making his debut. Bottom of the screen. Hainsworth in for his first play on this series, and they go right to Bryant, who played at Oklahoma State. Bryant was a great college player, but then he got suspended first by Oklahoma State and then by the NCAA for lying as they were investigating whether he had met with Deion Sanders, and he had. He takes all the blame. The question was, how high would he be drafted or how low? And Dallas takes a chance and picks him at the end of the first round.
And he just said, I was afraid to tell the NCAA that I met with Deion Sanders. It was my mistake, my fault. And he accepts what happened to him.
2nd and 8 on the game's opening drive at the 35-yard line. Felix Jones is the back, and again they go to Bryant. So they go right to Bryant. His first 2 plays as a Cowboy, they go to him on back-to-back passes, but for next to nothing.
One of the real differences in the Redskins this season is you'll see their cornerbacks looking in at the quarterback. That time, D'Angelo Hall saw Tony Romo flip his hips around to throw that smoke screen to the outside, came up and made the play. Jim Haslett thinks the Redskins are going to get a lot more turnovers with those corners looking in at that quarterback.
Head coach of the New Orleans Saints for 6 years, interim coach for the St. Louis Rams in 08. Now the defensive coordinator on 3rd and 9 out of the shotgun. And a quick flip, and that's knocked down at the line of scrimmage. Romo trying to get the ball over to Roy Williams and batted by D'Angelo Hall. So after 3 first downs for the Cowboys, the drive is stymied and they're forced to punt.
D'Angelo Hall is making some plays early. He looked good in preseason too, right off this edge here. Just going to jump up and make the play, and you can tell right away the Cowboys may be a little nervous about that offensive line. Some different looks out there and nothing but quick throws.
Matt McBriar now in his 7th season from Australia, played his college football at Hawaii. Philip Buchanan is back to receive the kick. And can it be down at the 1-yard line? It can't. Getting down there was Danny McRae, but he couldn't save it. And Washington will take over the 20 with Donovan McNabb coming out. (1600) Pennsylvania Avenue on this 66-degree night. 20% chance of rain during the course of the night, and the Redskins' first play is Clinton Portis taking the handoff for a gain of about 1. Biggest trade, of course, of the offseason. Enough in Philadelphia. 11 years. They decide to go in a different direction and have Kevin Cobb now playing quarterback for them. So McNabb was expendable, and away he went for a 2nd-round draft choice in this past draft and a 3rd or 4th next year. After 11 seasons with Andy Reid, Mom and Dad now watching home games in Landover and not at Lincoln Financial Field. 2nd down and 10 from the 20-yard line as McNabb looks right, throws left, and this is Chris Cooley as Sensabaugh makes the tackle. Let's take a look at the Washington starters.
Donovan McNabb, Syracuse University.
Clem Portis, U.
Mike Sellers, North Thurston High School.
Santana Moss, U.
Joey Galloway, The Ohio State.
Chris Cooley, Utah State.
Trent Williams, Longview High.
Derek
Dockery, Texas.
Casey Raubach, Wisconsin. Artis Hicks, Memphis.
Jamal Brown,
University of Oklahoma.
Brown, former Saint, coming back off knee surgery. 3rd and 8. McNabb lines up in the shotgun, something he did with great frequency as the years progressed in Philadelphia. And Donovan throws, and it is caught, and that's a first down, and this crowd is electric as Santana Moss makes the catch. So you have McNabb, but you have a flag also on the play. Tony Corrente is the referee.
Personal foul, rubbing the passer, defense number 90. Grab and made contact at the quarterback's sleeves. This 15-yard penalty will be added to the end of the play. First down.
That's the Pro Bowl nose tackle, Jay Ratliff, for the penalty.
Some good news for Redskins fans. Watch the job that the number 4 overall pick in the draft, Trent Williams, does against DeMarcus Ware, one of the great pass rushers in the game. That protection was perfect. Don't forget the Redskins come in here with 3 new offensive linemen as well. And there it is, a late hit, down low, no question, good call.
At the 47 of the Cowboys now. Back to Portis. Well, you have McNabb, but you have some of the old hands as well. Portis started his career with Mike Shanahan in Denver, had 2 spectacular years before the trade for Champ Bailey. You saw Santana Moss, who's been their leading receiver now for a number of years, making the catch. And Chris Cooley, of course, they love him here.
Yeah, and Donovan had finally gotten all the young talent that he wanted to assemble around him in Philadelphia, and then there it was on Easter morning. He woke up from a nap, and he was a Washington Redskin.
2nd down and 6. And this is Portis, and he'll get bottled up. Cowboys did a great job there, led by DeMarcus Ware. Let's take a look at that Dallas D.
Marcus Spears, Louisiana State.
Jay Ratliff, Auburn University.
Igor Olshansky, Oregon.
Anthony Spencer, Purdue.
Brady James, LSU.
Keith Brooking, Georgia Tech.
DeMarcus Ware, Troy University.
Terrence Newman, Kansas State.
Alan Ball, Detroit DePorce.
Gerald Sensabaugh, North Carolina.
Mike Jenkins, South Florida.
That's a defense that yielded only 16 points per game last season. Nickel D now. 3 wideouts. McNabb feeling the heat. Donovan's going to run like the old days. A blast from the past and a 1st down. And that was Clinton Portis with a great block on Brady James, and Dan Snyder, the owner, salutes that. Gain of 17.
Check out Clinton Portis right here. He's going to make it. The Cowboys come with a blitz, and this guy is one of the real tough guys playing running back around the league. He has been reinvigorated since Mike Shanahan came over. A lot of pouting, a lot of different things. His teammates had questions about Clinton Portis. No more, not this season. He is totally bought in, and you saw it right there.
Last year, McNabb with only 2 runs of 17 or more yards. Now Larry Johnson, who had some great years in Kansas City and is the backup to Portis, the play fake to him. And Donovan's going to just throw it away because he was chased on the play. Joey Galloway was the intended receiver. Yes, Joey Galloway still going at the age of 38.
Great play by DeMarcus Ware on the outside. He is not going to take the fake here, and he's going to go up and simply play this bootleg. Donovan thought with all the stretch plays they had been running, maybe it was time for the bootleg, but DeMarcus Ware stayed home. Usually the Cowboys hit that pretty hard. They want to chase down the line of scrimmage for those outside linebackers, but Ware is a veteran. He's been to the Pro Bowl now 4 or 5 straight years. Wasn't fooled.
2nd and 10 on Washington's opening drive from the 28. Backside screen, Cooley. And that's what the crowd is chanting, and Chris Cooley's going to have a 1st down. Chris Cooley missing about half of last season with a foot injury, but back and sharp in training camp, gain of 14.
Well, I tell you, this Trent Williams, the draft pick, is making a huge impression. Watch this block down the field here. He's athletic. He runs about a 4.8. He's going to get out in front of this play and just lock on. Totally blocked him all the way out of bounds. I don't know how you do it better than that. That is a big-time show from the rookie.
And that's a guy, remember, picked 4th in the draft. The University of Oklahoma had 3 of the top 4 picks, including Sam Bradford, of course, the Rams quarterback. Portis to the 9-yard line. Now, this is a great series, but one of the weird things about it is in recent times, and especially last year, as Mike Shanahan looks at his team inside the 10 now, in the last 11 quarters, or almost 3 games, the Redskins have had 29 drives against the Dallas Cowboys, haven't gotten into the end zone.
Yeah, they didn't have Mike Shanahan or Donovan McNabb. We've seen more offense on this drive than we saw in that game we did between these 2 teams last year.
Wade Phillips, who is the head coach and also sends in the defensive calls, started doing that last year. Stretch play to Portis, and that's Ware right there. They can't get Ware out of the play, and DeMarcus is right there to knock him down for a short loss and set up a 3rd down and 7.
You end up with Mike Sellers and Chris Cooley on the outside, both going to take their shot at Ware, but he plays this perfectly. His job is to set the edge. Cannot let that back get outside of him. And Clinton Portis with nowhere to go, perfectly played. What a great football player he is. I mean, game after game, some of the biggest collisions I've seen on tape are when he and Anthony Spencer, the other outside linebacker, meet at the quarterback.
3rd and 8. McNabb from the gun. Chased by Ware again, and Ware will bust up that play. So DeMarcus Ware, 94 all over the field, and it's 4th down, and they'll have to settle for a field goal attempt.
Well, we talked about would they know what to do. This time Keith Brooking comes on the outside, and Ware jumps through on the inside. Trent Williams did his best to get Brooking on the outside, but you don't want to leave DeMarcus Ware unblocked.
Graham Gano trying to solve their place-kicking problems. For the first time in 16 years, Ethan Albright is not the snapper. That's Nick Sundberg. And Josh Bidwell, the punter, is the holder, and the kick is perfect from 29 yards away. 4:25 left in the quarter. Washington takes the early lead over Dallas. Kwasi Ansah, the rookie run-back man, takes the Gano kick from the 12-yard line. And good coverage by the Redskins special teams, coached by Danny Smith. Byron Westbrook with the tackle there. So Donovan McNabb, his first series as a skin, results in 3 points. Dallas's second possession starts from the 28-yard line. And a little swing pass to Felix Jones. And you get him in space, and that's what's going to happen. A gain of better than 20 before LaRon Landry knocks him out. Very explosive. He and Marion Barber into short choice. That three-headed running back monster, 24-yard gain.
Well, one thing the Washington Redskins this year have done, they've moved to a 34 defense, which means these former defensive ends like Brian Arakpo are now outside linebackers who have to make more plays in space on the outside. And so far, the Cowboys trying to take advantage of that. Get out there in the open field. Yeah, we'll take our chances out there with Felix Jones.
Across the 50 to the Washington 48-yard line. First down. Off the play fake. Another first down. Miles Austin makes the catch, and that'll be a gain of about a dozen as D'Angelo Hall with the coverage.
Well, you want to know why he got that $50 million contract? Watch him run a route. Very strong legs, quickly out of these breaks, comes back to the quarterback, and Tony Romo absolutely loves him. He said 2 years ago I was campaigning for them to re-sign this guy. I knew then what kind of player he was, and certainly congratulations to him. He earned it the old-fashioned way, didn't he, Al?
He did, and he did it with a tremendous performance in overtime at Kansas City. Hainsworth is back in the game.
He didn't earn it the old-fashioned way.
You're exactly right. And Romo's going to swing it to the outside. And this time it's Felix Jones who gets taken down by the inside linebacker Rocky McIntosh. As Chris mentioned, of course, 2 subs up front in that offensive line right now.
Yeah, Alex Barron came over from the Rams in a trade for Bobby Carpenter, and let's face it, both of those guys were not considered successes as #1 draft picks, and really Alex Barron is going to get the brunt of the attention from this Redskins defense. There's Montre Holland filling in for Kyle Kozar on the other side. Doug Free, the new left tackle for Flozell Adams. A lot of new looks up there.
2nd and 8. And Barber almost fell down before the pass got to him. Risky pass, but Marion is able to make the catch. However, it couldn't go anywhere. Buchanan makes the tackle. But the one good thing up front, at least for the Cowboys, Chris, is that they have 2 guys, Garrard and Davis, the center and the right guard, who've both been to the last 3 Pro Bowls.
Yeah, they have. But, you know, Mark Colombo was really the leader up front, and he is now out along with Kyle Kozar, who is also that move guard, the guy they like to pull. Montre Holland not nearly as athletic.
Third down and 8, and that's caught at the 23-yard line. And that's Roy Williams. That is a great catch for Williams, who came over a couple of years ago from Detroit. And he's not lived up to expectations, had a lot of drops last year, but hung in with coverage that time and makes a great catch.
Man, watch this catch right here. He's not nearly as quick out of breaks, but that takes some courage. He knew he was going to get whacked that time by London Fletcher, and if you could start a season for Roy Williams in any way you would say go make a tough catch over the middle. That was pretty good.
And that's a first down, so they convert on the third down, and the ball is at the 23-yard line. And quickly again they go to Bryant, so they've been throwing to Bryant with frequency here, but everything has been short and out in the flat. Flag on the play, D'Angelo Hall knocking him down and losing his helmet.
Pretty interesting. Bryant got upset and sort of ripped his helmet off. D'Angelo Hall, I'm not sure which way this one's going to go.
Consensus being whispered into the ear of Tony Correnti.
After the play concluded, the receiver was under control and driven backward. Personal foul, unnecessary defense. This penalty says happens, automatic first down.
So they're saying, all right, here we go. No foul, no foul, no foul. And London Fletcher. So they're saying they blew the whistle dead before London Fletcher got there. I hear you, but it's pretty loud out there, you know.
And he's barely down at that point, too, and Fletcher's already in the air.
Well, he wasn't down on the ground, but he was down by the whistle by forward progress. But I guarantee you, London Fletcher never heard anybody blow a whistle out there.
So with a half minute to go now in the opening quarter, it's first down from the 12. Here's Barber, and Barber's looking to throw, and he throws it away. He had Jason Witten running an out. The tight end, Andre Carter, chasing on the play, and Barber throwing it out of the end zone. Second down.
I'll tell you, D'Angelo Hall has played a great game so far. He saw this all the way, and Marion Barber, unlike most backs in that situation, if you get a chance, and I was guilty of it too, you get a chance to throw a halfback pass, man, you're throwing it no matter what, trying to get a touchdown. He saw it wasn't there, threw it away. Very intelligent play that time by Marion Barber.
6 years in the league. How many passes has Barber thrown? That's his first. Second and 10 from the 12. Now more conventionally, Barber to the 6-yard line, and that's going to take us to the end of a pretty spirited first quarter. A lot of buzz in this stadium tonight. More than 90,000 looking on. End of 1, 3-0 Washington. And NBC Sunday Night Football continues after these messages. Second quarter, Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer. There is Jason Garrett, the offensive coordinator, who, among other things, just called Marion Barber's first ever pass attempt. And now we'll see what he has in store on a 3rd down and 4 as they go trips to the right. They have Tashard Choice flanking Romo in the backfield against this Washington 3-4. And Romo will go that way. That's the old bubble screen, and it's Austin with a flag down, and he'll be stopped by Buchanan, but Correnti's group throwing the flag.
Pass interference, offense number 88.
Which would be Des Bryant. Tony has more to say, I think.
Des right out there on the point, and you're going to see him get his hands wrapped around.
10-yard penalty. Remain 3rd down.
When they see you start to tug the upper half of a guy down towards the ground, they know that you have control. It would have been close to a first down. Couldn't really tell, but I thought it was the right decision. You don't want to give him an opportunity for a 4th and 1 down there, even if it was short.
Would have been a 4th and 1. 3rd down and 14. Looking right into the huddle. Romo, 10 of 11, all mainly short passes.
And Hainsworth is hot. They took him out of the game, and you could see he was mad coming to the sideline.
3rd and 14. 4-man rush. Pass over the middle, and it's behind Witten. They don't go to Witten that often in the end zone. Jason, with a lot of catches last year, led the team with more than 90. He had 94. but only 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, and that was one of the real issues and discussions this offseason. How can you have your leading receiver the last 3 years with only 2 touchdowns? And here he is down in the red zone, and I don't know if that one got tipped or just got away from Tony, but that one wasn't close.
Now a 34-yard field goal attempt. David Beeler, who was their kickoff man last year and did a fabulous job with a lot of touchbacks as a rookie, now in his 2nd year, and he's the place kicker, and Beeler's kick is no good. From 34. That's the way his season begins. Still 3-0 Redskins.
Well, here's Albert Haynesworth over here, and here's the defensive huddle over here on the other side. And you can see he is still not happy. And pass rush situations, nickel pass rush, he was supposed to be in the game. And Jim Haslett opting to take him out, and probably the biggest defensive play so far.
And McNabb, play action going deep, and the pass is incomplete. Good coverage on the play by Mike Jenkins. Santana Moss, the intended receiver. And just back to Haynesworth for a second. You might as well walk around with a sandwich board that says trade me when you do that.
Well, yeah, and I think he'd be okay with that. You know, he came in here and he let it be known right from the beginning he didn't want to be the nose tackle in a 34 defense. And then in April, Mike Shanahan said, I tell you what, if you want me to give you the $21 million, you're going to play my defense. And he thought about it, took the money, and then in June didn't show up for the mini camps or the OTAs, and he doesn't know what he's doing right now.
Now Portis behind Sellers, number 45, the fullback, for a short gain, setting up a 3rd down and 7.
Well, if you're going to stop the Dallas Cowboys, you have to control this big guy right here, Jay Ratliff, one of the really good nose tackles, and now it's a pure double team. He just splits right between those 2 guys and makes a play. He is the interior push. You have Anthony Spencer, you have DeMarcus Ware on the outside, and then you have Jay Ratliff inside putting pressure on that quarterback. Quite a threesome.
On 3rd and 7, McNabb gets hit as he throws, and the pass intended for Cooley is incomplete, and Donovan gets planted by guess who? Ware.
One of the problems that Trent Williams, the left tackle, is having, you can't turn your shoulders to the sideline. When you do that, you set up the inside move. That time, DeMarcus Ware took advantage of the rookie who made the mistake of turning those shoulders.
Josh Bidwell, his 11th season in the league, is the Washington punter, fielded at the 23, and this is Des Bryant. And the number 1 draft choice out of Oklahoma State brings that back to the 32. Early 2nd quarter. 3-0 Redskins. Dan Snyder took his team over in the late 90s. He inherited Norv Turner, fired him in 2000. Terry Robisky was the interim coach the rest of that year. Marty Schottenheimer came in. That lasted only 1 year. Then he goes out and he gets Steve Spurrier from the college ranks. Then it's Joe Gibbs, and the town is wild. Jim Zorn comes in for 2 years. That was a bizarre situation to begin with. And now he hopes that Mike Shanahan will get it right.
I think too.
Me too. From the 33-yard line. That's a gain of 7 for Jones. So we're talking to Mike Shanahan yesterday, and Mike is coaching at the University of Florida in the late 70s, and one of his receivers is this guy. And he says, I thought you'd be the governor of Florida someday. What happened to you?
Well, I'm surprised he made it this far coaching that bunch of guys we had at the University of Florida. But he did a great job. We were 0-10-1, believe it or not, the year before. Next year, 8-4 under Mike Shanahan, and he was really the only difference.
It's hard to believe that was over 30 years ago. Mike, at the age of 57, is still a very youthful-looking 57. 2nd down and 4. They love to run this play, the draw. Do it more than any team in the league. And it'll be a little bit shy of the 1st down. It'll be 3rd down and 1.
You know, we saw Brett and Drew Brees the other night doing this same thing, but Tony Romo is a big believer too. He wants to sort of take the ball and look out at the receiver, maybe not even pump fake it, but just frees those inside linebackers. He thinks that when he looks past and then hands it off, instead of those inside linebackers slamming up in there, they're frozen. You can see them, and it gives Leonard Davis a chance to get down on London Fletcher and create some space.
Marion Barber now the back. That was Jones on the last carry. 3rd down and 1, and a little toss to Barber, and Barber with a whistle before the play, which nobody could hear. But
Timeout. Dallas. This is their first.
Cowboys call a timeout. 3rd and 1 when we come back. Third down and 1 after the timeout was called from the bench by Phillips, and this time it is Barber picking up the 1st down on a similar play on which they had called it before the timeout. So 1st down for Dallas.
Jason Witten's going to go in motion around to the outside and get this block sealed down, and then Doug Free's going to come out and make the final block. Seal it there. Loop an athletic Doug Free out there. That's something Flozell Adams probably wouldn't have been able to do a season ago. Of course, Doug Free, we all remember him running down the field ahead of Felix Jones on that play last year.
1st and 10. Flozell Adams gone after that long career in Dallas, now a Pittsburgh Steeler. And that pass is too high for Barber to hold down. It's probably good for Dallas because that wasn't going to get anything anyway. Lorenzo Alexander coming in with the coverage. 2nd and 10.
Boy, LeBron Landry, who Jim Haslett says is the best athlete that he has on this team, who's going to come over here. He's a great pass rusher. He's a great tackler. A little shaky sometimes in deep coverage. Marion Barber did the right thing, kind of bumped him and let him go out on the screen. But Landry was there too quickly for Tony Romo. He had to sort of throw it away.
Hainsworth alert.
Get something flashing on the screen.
Only about $3 million a play. 2nd and 10. And Romo, flag thrown as he tucks the ball back in. And you got Rocky McIntosh coming in, and you saw that flag coming just as McIntosh got there, and it's going to be a hold. To be declined.
Holding offense number 65. This penalty has been declined. The result of the play, 3rd down.
Well, that's Garrod. Was he holding Hainsworth is the question, because those two, of course, have a history the football fans all know about.
Little confusion up front for the Cowboys. Rocky McIntosh is going to come here, and these two guys are basically going to get split, and that's why Garrod had to hold him.
Nope, it wasn't Hainsworth. Holding McIntosh and didn't stop him from getting to him. 3rd and 15. They stack Williams and Austin on the right side. And that pass is behind Jason Witten. The coverage is good. The pressure is good as well. 4th and 15 and a Dallas punt.
Well, on that one, Alex Barron got shoved right back into Tony Romo, and Romo had no choice but to scramble out of there. That's the question on him. Can he hold up to those big bull rushes?
McBriar to punt. Philip Buchanan. He'll field this one if he can. This is a very good kick. And will go out of bounds inside the 10-yard line. Or close to it anyway. Well, more like the 14. 3-0 Redskins.
Don't let me forget, I'm going to make the point the next time for sure. I think they've got to start pounding it in there. This is not a passing team with the way they're pass protecting right now. Yep. Yep. Just look at his lower body, though. Look how strong his legs are. Yeah.
All right.
Go ahead. And I also want to talk about the whole concept, did Andy Reid really do him a favor kind of thing, you know? Yeah.
Right. 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 Stephon Higher. Okay. Right, Stephon Higher. Yeah.
So it's a second round and then something else, like a fourth round.
Right. Donovan McNabb, no stranger to FedEx Field, played here 10 times, missed one game here during his career when he was injured, but a good passer rating, good touchdown to interception ratio. And now in his initial game as a Redskin, he started 3 for 7 for 32 yards, and he begins this drive with a flag being thrown. And that's caught at the 31-yard line by Santana Moss. Tony Correnti with the call on the flag.
Offside. Defense number 93. This penalty is declined. Result of the play, first down.
Anthony Spencer came across. Donovan McNabb, meeting with him yesterday, he looked different. And I think what he's done is he's reduced the body fat. There he is. There's a picture of him last year. And here he is, and he says he's lost somewhere between 5 and 8 pounds, but a lot of body fat.
Yeah, he looks like a thoroughbred. And does body fat show up in your cheeks? Because he looks a little thinner in his face, doesn't he? Yeah.
Stepping away, buying time. He's almost across the line of scrimmage as Santana Moss makes the catch. Donovan just able to get it off before he crossed the plane, and he finds Moss for a first down.
Well, see what happens when you lose a little body fat. You can move around the pocket. He looks younger out here to me. The way he's stepping up and making these plays, that's the old Donovan McNabb that we've seen for so long. Don't forget he came in with the ankle injury, missed the last 2 preseason games. Probably would have missed the last one anyway, but he looks good.
Here's at Deportis. When he's used to facing Dallas, remember Donovan last year as an Eagle faced him in the last 2 games of the season, a regular season game that they lost to send them from what would have been the 2nd seed to 6, which forced them to go to Dallas the next week, where they were killed by the Cowboys in the wild card game. And you wonder, and it's all speculation, what would have happened had they won those games? What would have happened had they gone to the championship game again? Would he still be in Philadelphia?
Pretty interesting. Did Andy Reid really do him a favor? That's the one I want to get into in a minute.
Yeah, intra-division trade.
Yeah.
You don't see that very often. Not at this level. And that pass going down to try to get it is Cooley, but he can't. Incomplete. Intra-division trades, very rare, and there it is, first quarterback within the division traded after starting at least 10 years for another team. And one of the reasons you don't want to do it, especially for a guy who's not at the end of his career, is you got to face him twice.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those all or nothing kind of trades. I mean, if you're the Philadelphia Eagles and you trade your guy that's been to so many Pro Bowls and playoffs and championship games, and all of a sudden he revitalizes the Washington Redskins, that's one of the really bad trades of all time.
3rd down and 7. All that to be determined. Meanwhile, McNabb is going to run and throw on the run, and for Cooley, and that pass is incomplete. So it's 4th down.
Boy, Jay Ratliff just ran right through Casey Raubach in the middle. It's this. There's nothing you can do to design against that. When Ratliff gets off the ball, and Donovan McNabb just, I mean, that's what quarterbacks that are as athletic as these 2 guys playing tonight can do. Didn't pick up the first down, but he didn't take the sack and get this defense amped up either.
Ratliff, a different type of nose tackle. The guy with speed and the guy who penetrates with great frequency. Here's Bidwell's kick. And it's going to be saved at the 1-yard line. That's Byron Westbrook, the brother of Donovan's longtime buddy, Brian Westbrook, now with San Francisco, 48-yard boot. LeBron James has taken his talent to the Potomac tonight. The new Miami Heat star making the decision during the summer, leaving Cleveland. He's a big Dallas fan.
Guy can play a little, can he?
And yet he went to the Redskins to get tickets tonight. From the 1-yard line after that great punt. And Westbrook downing at the 1. And now they'll buy some space and a good run up the middle. That's Chris Gronkowski, a rookie, 6'2", 245-pound out of the University of Arizona.
One of the problems Albert Haynesworth has been having is that instead of playing straight through here, he's been picking a side and basically getting driven out of the play. Here's Andre Gerard, and don't forget, Gerard was the guy that Albert Haynesworth stepped on his face when his helmet fell off. So that one had to feel pretty good for Andre Gerard.
5 years ago, and of course resulted in a suspension. And now Barber slugs it out. Should be a first down.
One of the things that they're talking about with Albert is they don't mind so much. There's number 92 right in the middle again as my telestrator goes a little crazy. They don't mind him picking a side because then the linebackers can play off of that. But when you're head up on that guy, you can't get blown 2 gaps out. So his whole thing, his whole career has been, I get up the field, I go after the quarterback, and the Redskins and Jim Haslett have basically told him, not here.
From the 12. Jones with a nice block to buy time, and then Austin is able to spin out of a tackle to pick up a first down. Spun away from Carlos Rogers.
Okay, forgive me. I'm watching this inside here, and there's Miles Austin on the outside going to make the play, but inside it was Andre Gerard basically giving a stiff arm to Albert Haynesworth to keep him at arm's length. A pretty good fight going on in there.
Haynesworth right over the nose. And Jones takes the ball out to the 28-yard line.
Here's a stiff arm on that last play. Watch Gerard, the center. Boom, right on top of the head. Now you got him totally under control, a little distance. But you can see Albert now starting to fight a little bit. Actually, he was pretty good on that last play, too. He stood his ground in there, was willing to play that nose tackle position where you just have to stop the run on either side of the center.
Good, though, to get him to spin if you're the center. He's not quite Freeney.
No.
2nd and 6. Quick flip. And this is Miles Austin up to the 35-yard line. That's D'Angelo Hall making the tackle. So the Cowboys began this drive at the 1-yard line, and now with 5.5 to go, Correnti's going to bring in the chains. It appears to be a first down.
Miles Austin is sort of a new breed of receiver that I see coming around, and guys that are big and physically strong from the waist down, almost running backs now playing receiver, because the game has moved so much to those quick throws, try and get the ball in receivers' hands, let them break a tackle, let them get up down the field. You can just see what a strong guy he is. Everybody who talks about him say, just look at him from the waist down. As he comes in and out of cuts, he will just drive that body down, almost like, you know, you're doing squats or something in the weight room, and then drive back out of it. And I tell you, once he gets the ball in his hands, he is very, very difficult to tackle. Kansas City Chiefs learned that one last time.
Austin 4 catches for 46 yards. The ball is at the 34 after the measurement. First down. Clean pocket for Romo. And now he goes to his man, Jason Witten, who caught at least 4 passes in every game last year. Let's check in with Andrea.
Well, to follow up on what Chris was just talking about, one of the points of emphasis for Austin this offseason was staying low when he's running his routes. Wide receiver coach Ray Sherman told me it enables Austin to get in and out of his breaks quicker and get better leverage. And Sherman said if Austin runs too high, he'll telegraph when he's coming out of his routes. He's got a greater chance of slipping and is a bigger target to be hit.
All right, Andrea, he's split to the right. You got Roy Williams to the left, and that's Bennett lining up for leverage on the right side. And they're going to give it to Jones, and he's going to turn it back. And Jones, who's very explosive, averaged close to 6 yards a carry last year, and is part of that 3-headed running monster for Dallas with Jones, the pounder, Barber, and then Tashard Choice can come in and do a lot of things as well, especially out of the Wildcat.
Yeah, and I tell you, the Redskins defensively are playing a lot better. I thought they were a little tentative in their 34 early on, but now we're seeing both linebackers and LaRon Landry, who's now playing the free safety, getting on the other side of the line of scrimmage. The Redskins attacking much more in this quarter with their linebackers than they did in the first.
Now Choice is in the backfield flanking Romo on 3rd and a deuce, and they'll give it to him on an inside handoff. And Choice will pick up the first down. You've got Leonard Davis leading the way to the guard, pulling out to provide the escort for him. So Tashard Choice out of Georgia Tech, 4th round pick in 08. They got Jones in the 1st round that year, and Barber in his 6th year out of Minnesota.
Only one defensive lineman that time for the Redskins right there, kind of unusual in a short yardage situation. And Doug Freese is going to drive him right out of there. Nice job, too, by Leonard Davis pulling around.
Ticking down to 3 minutes. Barber is back. But Witten now working out of the slot to the right. Romo stepping away from the heat and finds Austin, who gets free running an out route inside the 35-yard line. Miles Austin now with 5 catches, and that one's good for 21 yards.
Ray Sherman's going to like this route right here, all the way out here. Watch him run up the field, drive the defender off, sort of make a little inside move, now back out. But I tell you, that is, if you've never run routes, and I know, Al, you've run a bunch of them.
Oh, yeah, out of the booth.
When you're running to the inside and trying to break to the outside, you better have some strong legs.
2.5 to the half. Play clock at 0, and they don't get it off. They don't get the play off the leg.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Wade Phillips, his offense, and of course it's Jason Garrett's offense, Wade the head coach. Last year bogging down in that red zone, a lot of yardage, but not picking up the types of point totals that the Saints or the Vikings collected last year.
Yeah, big issues in the red zone down inside the 20-yard line, and it's already showed up once in this game too.
First and 15 from the 39-yard line. Will swing it to Barber, one-on-one, escapes the first would-be tackler, and is out of bounds at the 37-yard line. 2-minute warning with 1:58 officially. Washington 3, Dallas nothing on opening night. A lot of yardage, but almost no scoring. It's 3-0. It's 2nd down and 13 from the 38-yard line, and Tony will throw incomplete. That one's intended for Jason Witten. The Cowboys have had the ball about twice as much, 18.5 minutes to 9.5. They've outgained them 165 to 93, but on the scoreboard, a goose egg.
But it doesn't look like the Cowboys offense, because you can tell Tony Romo has not held the ball over 3 seconds this entire game, I don't think. They're trying to help the offensive line up front, but one of the problems is you're not playing your game. You know, really, Alex Barron's doing okay up there. Doug Freese doing fine. Sometimes you just got to let them make a play.
3rd and 13. Corner blitz, Romo throws, and double coverage on the receiver. So Des Bryant, Buchanan was blitzing. The defense read it perfectly. Jim Haslett's unit giving up yardage, but right now pitching a shutout, 4th and 13.
That was a great call that time by Jim Haslett. Not only did he get the pressure on the quarterback, but he also put his safety, Reed Dowdy, right over the top, right where their hot read was going to be. Just a perfectly run defensive play, and boy, have they looked good tonight.
Knew where they were going. McBriar. Some backspin on the kick. Buchanan's going to let it go, and it will be hauled in at the 4-yard line by Owusu Ansah, the rookie. So that's where McNabb will take over late in the first half. You got Ware, of course, a star. Spencer becoming a star. On the other side, that Dallas defense trying to pin Washington deep late in the first half. And McNabb, good protection over the middle. He goes to Cooley for a first down after the 25-yard line. Alan Ball makes the tackle, and timeout is taken by Washington.
Well, even Honest Abe would have liked that call by Kyle Shanahan, wouldn't he? I mean, you're sitting back there, and I'm thinking, oh boy, can they get a first down? No, the Cowboys can use their timeouts, and then maybe they get the ball back. The heck with that. Kyle Shanahan just came out firing on the first play. Pretty aggressive play calling there.
Honest Abe like Shanahan, Illinois native. As you look at McNabb and Romo, their numbers through the first almost 29 minutes of play here.
But you know what? The numbers weren't as impressive looking for Donovan, but look at the yardage. They're hitting big chunks of plays, and the Cowboys aren't.
Donovan's down to only 2 receivers tonight, Moss and Cooley. And here's Moss again. His 4th grab. Slip move takes it out to the 28-yard line. Redskins going without a huddle. There's Mike Shanahan. Mike not calling the plays, but Shanahan is calling the plays. His son, Kyle.
Yeah, and he said, you know, I'm going to leave him alone. He said he's earned the right. When he was in Houston, that was one of the great offenses in the league last year, and I used to hate it when the head coach would come over and tell me what to call.
Mike just turned 58. Kyle is 33. McNabb under pressure and throws into traffic, and that pass is incomplete, and there's a flag with Clinton Portis, the intended receiver, and a lot of traffic over the middle.
Pass interference, defense number 90. Automatic first down.
Jay Ratliff.
Yeah, I think Clinton Portis was trying to get out on the screen, and Jay Ratliff saw it and grabbed him. There's Ratliff again right there. So he's going to see Portis trying to come out on the screen, and then just hooks around the hand. And that's one of those times that I don't know if the umpire made that call. Remember, inside 2 minutes, the umpire moves back to the old position, so he's going to see a few more things. As a nose tackler, you got to turn around and see where that umpire is. And there he goes, right there in the middle. Usually he's back over here.
McNabb. Portis standing the block for him, and that pass intended for Anthony Armstrong. Incomplete, and another penalty from the Correnti crew.
Holding offense number 61. 10-yard penalty remains first down.
Center Casey Rawbach.
Yeah, and he really didn't have to hold because Clinton Portis was going to come and just jump right on him. There you go, right in the middle. Watch Clinton Portis come out of here. Hi-ya. Maybe Clinton saw it was number 90 instead of one of those linebackers. He's a crazy guy. You've seen all the characters and his costumes and all that, but tell you what, he will block.
Said before the game, I'm staying out of the papers this year. 1st and 20. And that pass is incomplete. Looking around a little late. 2nd down and 20. So we talked earlier about the fact that the Redskins have not gotten into the end zone against the Cowboys. 12 quarters, the equivalent of 3 games. And if they don't score before the end of the half, that'll be 13 quarters and 33 drives, this being the 33rd.
Now after that penalty, things change a little bit for you offensively. How aggressive do you want to be right now? Certainly with the timeouts remaining, the Cowboys still in a position to score points there.
2nd and 20. Now Portis. And he's at least able to stay in bounds, so that does not give Dallas a free timeout. Dallas is going to take the timeout here with a 3rd and 19 upcoming. 3rd down and 19 now. Dallas taking that timeout, trying to get the ball back at the end of the first half, and they dump it down underneath, and Portis will go nowhere, and Dallas will take another quick timeout before the Washington punt. Jason Hatcher making that tackle. Punt coming.
I don't think either guy has nobody's been sacked yet, have they?
Somewhere in there.
Sack, yeah. Washington's got one.
I saw it.
But Washington's offensive line's held up pretty good.
Home of the Redskins since 1997. After all of those years at RFK, out they come to Landover, Maryland, just outside the border of the district. Over 90,000. Largest seating capacity in the league. Bidwell to kick. Short kick, but takes a good Washington bounce. A real good bounce. Not pretty, but fairly effective with the ball at the 30-yard line. So the Dallas Cowboys now with 27 seconds.
Well, now you're going to be put in a position probably where you're going to have to try and push the ball down the field a little bit more. This may be our best look yet at how this offensive line is going to hold up. Romo completing a high percentage of throws, but when the scoreboard looks the way that it does, that doesn't count for much.
No timeouts for Dallas. Romo rolling. Choice makes the catch, and he is able to get out of bounds, so that'll stop the clock with 22 ticks.
Yeah, and you can see everything is kind of a plan here. You know, they're rolling the quarterback out. They're doing a lot of things. The Redskins are starting to feel it a little bit now. You know, when you don't back up a defense, when you don't threaten them over the top, they start feeling a little more aggressive up front, and we're seeing a lot more blitzes now out of Haslett.
2nd and 8. Romo with that patented shoulder shake and almost has that one picked on the deflection. Bryant, the intended receiver, going deep to him this time. Phillip Buchanan with the coverage.
Well, Brian Arakpo showed why he had 11 sacks. Look at him at the end of the line of scrimmage. Just take Doug free and drill him right backwards. And Romo had to hurry that when it floated on him. Des Bryant kind of stopped at the top of his route. And that's one, as I was looking at it on the field, I was thinking Des Bryant against Phillip Buchanan, give me that all day. A little jump ball, but Buchanan won it.
3rd and 8. And that pass is caught, and then Bryant has to get out of bounds, and he does. He gets to the 46, but now you have 11 seconds. And among the things that Dallas has to do, they need a pretty long completion to even think about a field goal, and then they have to get out of bounds as well.
Boy, Jim Haslett, who didn't show many blitzes during the course of the preseason, has got them all going here. He doesn't have a single defensive lineman. Look at this. Everybody's standing up. Defensive lineman, everybody. Here we come. Forcing Tony Romo to throw that thing hot, which is a good plan with 11 seconds on the clock.
Skins back with 2 deep safeties, and Romo. Flag is thrown. Tony throws that one away. That play takes us down to 4 seconds.
Yeah, Alex Barron that time. Tony Romo kind of pre-scrambled, and it really.
Holding offense number 71. This penalty has been declined. The result of the play, second down.
You know, and Alex Barron probably was getting beat on that play, but you can see that it's inside the head of Tony Romo a bit right now. He was almost anticipating the problems that he was going to have over there on that right side, and as a quarterback, even if you get hit, you still have to be able to look down that field and read it.
As you saw, he knows what a flag looks like. Most penalized player in the league over the last 5 years, and the former Cowboy Flozell Adams, number 2 on that list.
And Jim Haslett said, and he knew Alex Barron well from his days in St. Louis, he said, we'll get a couple holding calls or false starts or something out of Alex Barron tonight. He's not done too bad a job, though, so far. I don't want to paint too bleak a picture. I actually think that he's done a little better against these outside linebackers than I thought. Each of them had 11 sacks. Now we've got both of them at the top of the screen.
So it's a Hail Mary or a kneel down, and it's going to be the former, if anything. And now you got a little sideways pass, and the ball is loose. Choice lost the ball. D'Angelo Hall will strut into the end zone for an unbelievable touchdown. Of all the wacky plays to call with 4 seconds to go. What's the upside? 0. What's the downside? You're
7.
watching it.
Yeah, watch D'Angelo Hall. What a half he's had. He knew he had the tackle. He knew he had guys coming. Go for the football. In this league, you cannot stand up in a crowd. If you do, you see the other team do flips in the end zone. Just no reason, you know. The crowd boos whenever you throw, you know, you take a knee at the end of a half. There you go.
Graham Gano for the extra point, and that's the way the first half ends. Euphorically for this crowd. Wacky. Washington 10, Dallas nothing. And out of the second half, Al Michaels with Chris Collinsworth, Andrea Kramer. Choice's first career fumble. It's not the play call. Romo's trying to improvise, but not in that situation. And then, of course, it turns out to be a disaster for the Cowboys.
Well, if you want to take a shot down the field, I can understand that. Maybe get a pass interference, kick a field goal, whatever the case may be. But, boy, once you see the thing break down, there's no reason to flip a lateral out there almost. I'm not so sure that play wasn't a lateral when he first did it.
Regardless, the ball was loose. Hall scores, and Washington will start the second half with the ball. David Buehler to kick off. Devin Thomas to run it back. It's 10-0 Washington. A yard in. Thomas straight up the middle. And there is the kicker himself, Buehler. Last line of defense. Let's go to Andrea.
Well, Al, I spoke to Wade Phillips seconds after the Cowboys fumble. He was furious. He said, with 4 seconds to go, you just get down with the football. As for the Cowboys players walking in the locker room, they appeared shell-shocked. Now, as for Mike Shanahan, he said it was important to get those points because the offense has just not gotten going. They have to run the ball more in the second half. And finally, safety LaRon Landry for the Redskins had a lot of cramping. He got an IV at halftime, is expected back.
All right, thank you, Andrea. The total yardage for Washington is 117, so not much, and that obviously made that a very important score as Portis gets taken down after a short gain. Take a look at the first half statistics. When Dallas had the ball is about twice as much as Washington.
Yeah, and the rushing yards for the Washington Redskins were all by Donovan McNabb on that one run. They really had not. They started out and they were running the football a little bit, or at least trying to, and it helped set up some of the play action. Then when they got away from it, all of a sudden the passing game wasn't there either.
Right. Shanahan's watched Portis tonight carry the ball 9 times for only a total of 15 yards, and now Washington with some confusion, and they have to waste a timeout. So just 49 seconds into the quarter. And let's go back now and re-examine that play at the end of the first half. When I said it was either it has to be a kneel down or just throw it all the way down to field a Hail Mary. But this is the last thing in the world. It breaks down, stepping away, and then just try to make something. And the end result is a Washington touchdown.
Yeah, it's one of those that you're the Dallas Cowboys. You come in here and you have to wonder coming in anyway. You've got Shanahan, you got McNabb, you got all this different stuff. The crowd's all into it. Your offensive line's banged up. You can't give them away like that.
On 2nd and 7 from the 35, Ware nearly jumps, but no flag, and Cooley makes the catch. There is a flag. Cooley makes the catch and takes it to the 38-yard line. So in effect, a free play. They did throw the flag for Ware being offside, so this will be declined.
Offside, defense number 94. Jumped into the neutral zone at the snap. This penalty has been declined. First down.
Now you're going to see the outside receiver come in and get a little pick on Keith Brooking right there, 51. He'll sort of run his guy into the next guy, and there you go. Donovan McNabb, good job, though, changing up that snap count. Such an important thing when you're playing against great pass rushers.
Fake to Portis. McNabb has a ton of time and then hits Moss. Covered by Newman on the play. Santana Moss, 10th year, came over to trade with the Jets back in 05.
Boy, Trent Williams looked like he was going to get beat inside again by DeMarcus Ware on that one. And he just held on. You know, he did a good job. Those pretty quick feet. Mike Shanahan, how much did he like Trent Williams? He said, no question, this kid's going to be a Pro Bowler. And I'll tell you another thing, we're not going to help him. We think that he can block DeMarcus Ware. And if he does, he's one of the few in this league that can do it.
Good debut. Draw to Portis. Slugs his way down to the 22-yard line. Sensabaugh and Brady James make the tackle on Portis, the 9th year back out of Miami. Of course, that was about as big a one-for-one deal as you'll ever see after his 2nd year in Denver, going to Washington. Champ Bailey going out to Denver. You can see what he did in those first few years at Denver. And a lot of people wondered, well, how can you do that? Well, Shanahan was so successful with that running system, he plugged anybody in there, and they got 1,500 yards seemingly. Portis to the 18-yard line. Mike used to have those light, quick lines. Alex Gibbs was the line coach there for a lot of years, and there it is, 14 years in Denver, leading the NFL in rushing yards per game and yards per rush. 6 different running backs, 1,000 or more yards in a season. Of course, they had Terrell Davis. We know about him. Portis, but even guys like Olandis Gary. Portis out, Johnson. Go ahead.
Yeah, Clinton Portis, though, is 6 of his 8 years in the league. He's had over 1,200 yards. The only time he hasn't been over 1,200 are the 2 years he was hurt, including last year.
Helmet repair, and that's why Johnson comes in. And here is the former Kansas City Chief. But he will only get in a flag comes in. For the moment, he is short of the first down. Flag coming in from the side, from the head linesman.
Boy, that Anthony Spencer is one of the best run-playing linebackers I've seen in the game. It is so hard to get him blocked.
Well, here's an interesting choice now. Correnti is saying, in effect, to Wade Phillips or Will, you can have a 4th down and inches or decline it.
Offense number 86, 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 3rd down.
And that's, I think you have to make that call because you don't want to give them even the chance with the momentum and a 10-point lead to even think about going for it. So you make them back up and you give them the extra down.
That's what happens, though, when you have to try and block Anthony Spencer. He was just too quick for Fred Davis on that play. Spencer's just going to jump around here at the end of the line of scrimmage. And then Fred Davis, knowing that his guy was vulnerable, he just grabbed and held. He does that all the time. They used to get on Anthony Spencer for making that little jump around move, but no more. They're like, just go, man, make plays.
3rd and 13. And Portis comes back in, but now you've got a whistle before. And you've got a timeout.
Washington.
Ooh. So Washington's already used 2 timeouts in the half.
There's a good call there by Shanahan with the timeout, because they're right on the edge of field goal range. If he hadn't called it, they would have been backed up to a 50-yard field goal. So even though they only have 1 timeout remaining, I think it was the right decision.
3rd down and 13 at the 28-yard line. And McNabb throws. Cooley makes the catch, but that's going to be shy of the first down to the 18 and set up about a 36-yard field goal attempt. Brooking and Skandrick bracketed him on the coverage. Shanahan felt that the play clock had started early, or they didn't set it to the full 25, 2 fingers and then 5. And Mike himself called that timeout before the snap. So that's only 1 timeout remaining now for Washington for the balance of regulation. 36-yard attempt for Graham Gano. Did well to do the holding. And the kick
got him.
Is good, but there's a flag, and that flag is going to be a first down. Orlando Skandrick came across the line, and that may take 3 off the board.
Offside, defense number 32 is in the neutral zone at the snap. This 5-yard penalty will result in a first down.
So they'll take the 3 off. Skandrick whacking himself in the helmet, and a first down now for the Redskins.
Boy, this is painful right here at the top of the screen. Orlando Skandrick. Ouch. That's one of those you practice, though, with special teams. You go a hard count in short yardage situations. You also do it on special teams, and that's a big one right there. Although, well, we've seen some big mistakes out of the Cowboys tonight. Had the hold down there on the goal line. Remember that one? Knocked him out of a 4th and 1 kind of situation. The fumble.
From the 12 now. Portis. Couple to the 10. Make it 3. 2nd down and 7. That long scoreless streak was over for Washington against Dallas, thanks to the fumble and the whole touchdown. But that streak continues for the offense.
Yeah, but they're starting to get a little something going here on this drive, and I think they're getting back to Mike Shanahan football. Some of these stretch plays, and now you may start seeing a few bootlegs and things like that because they've reestablished the run here.
McNabb, a flutterer into the end zone flag. Newman makes the interception to the marker, as you can see. Fluttering pass. Does it result in a touchback or another play? Call is on.
Terrence Newman was the one down there.
Illegal contact, defense, results in an automatic first down.
Oh boy, big mistake number 4, and is that Clinton Portis down on the ground?
Yep.
Terrence Newman right there. Can't go 5 yards. There it is. Probably was more of a hold than an illegal contact, but I mean, Sensabaugh came over and got a huge shot on Santana Moss. Every time his team makes a play, they mess it up.
Been an agonizing last half hour or so, counting the break at halftime for Wade Phillips.
I can tell you, there's nothing that disgusts the defense more than when they hold a team to a field goal and then you go out and the special teams fouls it up. Look at them. They're breathing heavily. You will never be more tired during the season than you are on opening night. You're just not used to playing this many plays, and the Cowboys are starting to look worn down a bit.
1st and goal from the 5-yard line. And McNabb throws off his back foot and has the presence of mind to just throw it in an area where nobody is, because Igor Olshansky was bearing down on him. 2nd and goal.
Yeah, Keith Brooking came on the blitz that time, and Derek Dockery had no choice but to pick him up, and that left Olshansky free. Dockery has to protect that inside gap. They had a screen look like called as the running back Keelan Williams was turned around, but Donovan knew he had to get that one out of there.
You could have called grounding on that one. After looking at the replay, there's nobody in the area. And he was in the pocket.
Donovan saying you guys didn't restart the play clock again. They did. They gave it back to him, though, that time.
2nd and goal from the 5. He empties the backfield and throws a fade into the back corner of the end zone. Juggled and incomplete. Intended for Anthony Armstrong. Mike Jenkins with the coverage on the play. So he goes to Armstrong, who hasn't made a catch tonight, but is a fascinating story. 27-year-old first-year player. Incomplete.
And Anthony Armstrong's been so good during the preseason. Here he is with an opportunity for a touchdown, and he just bobbled it. Jenkins got his hands in there, but after the bobble, got to be able to find a way to make that one.
3rd and goal. And Portis goes in motion. So again, empty backfield. To the left side on the 3-by-1, and that pass is incomplete. And turning around is Armstrong again, looking for a flag, and he won't get one, and it's 4th down and goal.
And Mike Jenkins has been simply brilliant. He was the best corner the Cowboys had last year. Now the pressure's on, and he makes 2 more big plays on the outside. This keeps the Cowboys in this game. They could not give up a touchdown here. They said that he really just went to work. His first year battling with Orlando Scandrick, came back with something to prove the 2nd year and was tremendous.
23-yard attempt. The Cowboy D keeping it a 2-possession game. And they won't even get this now because you've got a juggled snap, and what a turn of events this is. Nick Sundberg is the new snapper. Josh Bidwell is the holder. And that's your result.
Taking points off the board.
Tony Romo, as the Cowboys dodge a major bullet that time. He had a field goal taken off the board. Every chance to score a touchdown as they work on Portis and his leg. And then the botched hold and snap. So no points on the board, and they'll start by giving the ball to Jones. Interesting thing tonight with Romo, you'd win a lot of bets. Yards per pass in the history of the National Football League. Great indication of a quarterback's prowess. You've got the best of all time, Otto Graham. 2nd best, Sid Luckman. 3rd best, Norm Van Brocklin. And then Tony is 4th best all time, minimum 1,500 passes. 8.1 yards per pass. So he normally gets the ball downfield or gets his receivers to pick up a lot of yards after the catch, but tonight throwing everything underneath. Second and 5 with the ball at the 22. Pressured. Now he goes over the middle. Austin gets free. Fletcher chases him down and finally gets him at the 50-yard line. And that time he had Fletcher going back there in coverage because LaRon Landry came in on the safety blitz.
LaRon Landry that time missed, and Tony Romo with an absolutely brilliant play coming right off the edge has him dead to rights. And Romo, as he's done so many times, saves his offensive line, keeps the play alive, and hits a big one, a desperately needed big one down the field. That's the Tony Romo we're used to seeing.
Landry, the safety, coming off the corner that time. Fletcher back in coverage. 29-yard gain. Austin with 6 catches and 96 yards.
Caught him in a blitz, too.
Fake to Jones. Romo going deep, and that is incomplete. Roy Williams was the intended receiver. He had position, but Rodgers is able to break it up. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
First half was all pretty short throws by Tony Romo. He was concerned about the protection, I'm sure. Jason Garrett wanted to make sure that he wasn't getting his quarterback hit, so we saw a lot of this. And we saw no points on the board. But now we're starting to see a little bit more. That last pass was one they tried to work down the field as well. The protection's been good enough. I think it is time to start opening things up.
Ball had to move, so it gets respotted just across the 50-yard line. Second down and 10. With leverage on the left side now, this is Barber, but he can't turn around the corner. Brian Arakpo, 10th or 13th pick in the draft last year. Great rookie season, #1 pick out of Texas.
Yeah, 11 sacks. They say he is the best football player on this team. Yes, Jim Haslett. He said, I don't care who else we have. That guy right there is the best we have. They're going to move him around, too. They wanted to get him over on Alex Barron on the other side. Typically, he's on the defensive right.
Third and 9. And he goes to Bryant, but coming in is the safety because you had a corner blitz from Buchanan, and then Landry is there to back him up and make sure he doesn't get the first down.
Boy, that's the speed of LaRon Landry right there. He was nowhere in the picture. Buchanan's going to come all the way from the outside here, but watch up here. LaRon Landry is going to hit the jets. He says, Jim Haslett says that's the best athlete I've ever coached right there, and nothing but pure speed would have saved that play. He gets there and makes a sure tackle. That was huge.
Matt McBriar will punt. Buchanan sets up at the 10-yard line to run it back. Lets it go. Good Cowboy bounce. And McNabb will take over, and that offense deep in its own territory with 6:03 to go in the third. Washington 10, Dallas nothing. Well, both head coaches have their sons on the staff. Wade Phillips and his son Wes. Mike Shanahan and his 33-year-old son Kyle, who's the offensive coordinator. So Kyle would have been 11 when Mike was first the head coach with the Raiders in '88. And of course, Wes's grandfather would be 85-year-old Bum Phillips. And there's Wade and there's Wes. And by the way, Bum Phillips, a shout out to Bum. He watches every game in Texas. And there's the Shanahan father and son. And Wade told us last night his father learned how to use the remote control, so he hits the pause button after almost every play. And he's like an hour and a half behind the game, and everybody upstairs is screaming, and he's still looking at plays from the third quarter. Anthony Spencer is there. But it's a classic case, and this is not a case of nepotism either, because each of those kids has really earned their stripes.
Can't you just see Bum there going, shut up, I don't care. He's got the coach's clicker, you know. I'm going to watch the plays, and the game's been over for an hour and a half out there. He was a lot of fun, wasn't he, Bum?
He was phenomenal, and Wade still has that same type of sense of humor. Actually, Bum is going to be 87 years old shortly. Second down and 10. And that pass is dropped out in the flat by Mike Sellers. Third and 10. So with the Phillips, Bum and Wade are the only father and son combo to each win a playoff game. And it took Wade quite a spell to do it, but it finally happened against Donovan McNabb's Eagles last January.
I tell you, you can talk anything you want, but Wade Phillips' defense has played a great game out here tonight. Just 3 points generated by this Redskins offense, and they have a chance to really turn this game if they can make a stop here.
Third and 10 from the 7. McNabb deep and incomplete, intended for Santana Moss. Trying to thread it over the coverage and before the boundary, and he's covered on the play by Orlando Scandrick, so it's fourth down.
Even though they didn't hit that play, I have to say the most impressive thing I've seen tonight has been the play of this Redskins offensive line. They are trading off inside. Jamal Brown, Artis Hicks, Trent Williams has played great. I think they've really done a great job.
Josh Bidwell to boot one out of the end zone, and that's a short, bad kick. That's down to the 34-yard line. And the crowd booing. They've had all kinds of troubles with place kicking and punting here, and they're continuing. Joe Gibbs, 3 Super Bowls in that first period of time, and came back for 4. You got a wildcat here on first down and 10 with Choice taking the handoff and going up the middle to the 30-yard line. So it's the first time they've run out of that formation. Speaking of coaches, just to clean it up, Kyle Shanahan, I think I said 33. He's 30. And I had to clean that up because Peggy Shanahan would call me and say, I don't have a 33-year-old son. Come on.
You ever watch the quarterback on a Wildcat? You know, they have to kind of split out wide. D'Angelo Hall, look at that. Tony said, I'm going to put some shakes on him because every once in a while that corner will come after you and try and give you a shot. He had his head on a swivel on that one.
2nd and 6, ball at the 30. Cowboys trying to capitalize on a huge field position shift and a bad punt. And that one will be caught by Des Bryant to the 23. You know, Chris, one of the things that Cowboy fans were talking about was in preseason, the first unit did not play well. They did win 3 games, but, you know, the 2nd and 3rd unit guys were in for the most part. And some people in Dallas were going, you know, maybe there is a problem. You know, you and I know preseason means nothing, basically. Bupka, squat,
less than
nada.
Nothing.
Yeah. But maybe, you know, maybe there's a little carryover here. The 3 halfbacks are in the game right now behind Romo, and they give the ball to choice. So they run that 3-headed monster as one, and the ball gets to the 16-yard line.
Yeah, and that may be a setup right there. That was an option. Tashard Choice had the option to pitch this one back to Felix Jones. Watch as he comes out here with this ball, and you're going to have a perfect pitch back. Marion Barber is going to be the lead blocker. I'll bet you they come right back to that pretty soon. If he had pitched that one out, he might have scored.
Made the wrong choice. Never mind. 2nd down and 6. Barber to the 4-yard line with some tough running. Hainsworth is there. It'll be 1st down and goal.
Nice play design here. Martellus Bennett is going to come down in short motion and seal here. And then you're going to get the other tight end, Jason Witten, sealing right behind him. And Marion Barber, there was just nobody left out there. Here comes Martellus Bennett inside. Seal the end, seal the backer. There you go, nothing left.
2.5 left in the 3rd. 1st down and goal. Here's Barber. Angles his way to the 4-yard line.
Same play other way that time. Andre Gerard is doing a number in here on Albert Hainsworth, the center and the nose tackle. Watch him right in here. Gerard said, you remember that time you stepped on my face? I may have gotten a little hold in there too. Albert's starting to fight back.
From the 4 on 2nd and goal. Play fake. Touchdown. Miles Austin gets into the end zone. And think of it in these terms, not that long ago, it looked like Washington was ready to take a 3-possession lead. And now, after an extra point, it could be a 3-point game.
Well, when you get the running game going, it draws up the safety. That time, Reed Doughty came flying up out of the middle. Carlos Rogers is saying, where are you, man? You're killing me on this one. Reed Doughty was playing to run all the way and gave up the touchdown. But that's what happens when you start to establish that run. Now they're starting to look like the Cowboys again.
After a 27-yard punt, it's a 34-yard drive. And the kick by Beeler is good. 1:41 left in the 3rd. Redskins by 3. (10-7) is the score. Beeler kicks off for Dallas. Devin Thomas will handle this one. And Thomas with a good run back before Beeler will force him into the Cowboy bench. And back to the touchdown we go with night vision.
There we go. A little new look for you. There's Reed Doughty right in the middle of your screen right there. And as soon as this run fake goes off to his left, he is going to come flying up there. Unfortunately for him, he has the deep middle. And you could tell that by the alignment of the corners on the outside. D'Angelo Hall and Carlos Rogers were playing outside the receivers, so they were expecting help in the middle of the field, and Lee Dowdy wasn't there.
Good run back to the 43. And that's some hard running by Portis for a gain of 8. McNabb, meanwhile, is 0 for his last 5. So what a turn of events in this one. First and goal for Washington. The ball is at the 5-yard line. Everything going wrong for Dallas. They're that far away from making it 17-0. Dallas holds them. Now you've got a chip shot field goal in effect, and the snap's a little high and the hold gets botched. And now instead of 17-0, it's 10-3.
And don't forget the 2 plays by Mike Jenkins, the corner.
Right. 10-7, 3-point game. Jenkins does 2 big plays on Armstrong, and this will be a first down.
Those are the first 2 cutback runs that I've seen that actually worked. That time Casey Robach and Artis Hicks got the double team on Ratliff right on the nose, right in here, and just drove him back out of here. Here's a little Shanahan offense, and I've said it before, I know, but you're going to see the double team right in the middle and the push. That's about as good as you can do it. But running the football is a lot easier in the second half when those big guys up front get a little tired on that defensive line.
From the 45-yard line. Fake to Portis. Look out. McNabb able to avoid Spencer. Gets the ball off to Sellers. Well, that's not going to go very far because Brooking is right there to cover the fullback, and that's going to take us to the 4th quarter. At the end of 3 in this great rivalry, Washington 10, Dallas 7. Sunday Night Football resumes after these messages. Jerry Jones, there he is, wife Jean, owner of the Cowboys since '89, and recent survey had the Cowboys as the team that, if you combine television ratings in the local market, internet hits and buzz and merchandise, they are #1. And #1 by a lot, with the Pittsburgh Steelers #2 in that category. Al Michaels, Chris Collinsworth, Andrew Kramer. Here we go in the 4th quarter. 2nd down and 8, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for Anthony Armstrong, and a flag.
One of the offensive linemen looked like he was way downfield.
And that will be the call.
That was a middle screen.
An eligible member of the offense downfield prior to the pass, number 66. This penalty has been declined. The result of the play, 3rd down.
Well, now I know why offensive linemen run the 40 at the combine. Watch Derek Dockery, right? He's just going to take off. In fairness to him, this was a middle screen to Larry Johnson that just fell apart. So Dockery thought he was supposed to be down the field and thought the screen would have been off quickly. Didn't work so well.
3rd down 8. Portis with McNabb in the backfield. Look out. Ware. DeMarcus Ware.
Well, DeMarcus Ware, one of the best in the game, using his hands. Watch him knock the hands down of the rookie. And that was the difference. That's one of the first times we've seen the Cowboys bring pressure. Now they're ready to challenge this young offensive line of the Redskins.
Where it was 11 sacks last year. Boy, they almost got in to block it. Bidwell's kick was fair caught by Owusu Ansah, the rookie, as Tashard Choice came in and very nearly blocked the punt. Dallas ball down by 3. Ode to the Hogs, the pig pen. One of their boys, Russ Grimm, went to the Hall of Fame this year. There they are. Right now their defense is out on the field, and Dallas will start with a Jones move to the outside, and before they take him down, he's close to a first down. McIntosh got it from behind. Good running that time, breaking a couple of tackles and withstanding a collision with his own man Austin.
Yeah, one of the questions I had coming in is, could these inside backers in a 34 defense just take on these big guards and make plays? You know, London Fletcher, Rocky McIntosh, they're used to being protected behind a 4-man defensive line, and there on the outside is Miles Austin, who made a block and almost a tackle.
Yes, he did. From the 29, a little toss back, Jones again. And Fletcher will run him out of bounds. London Fletcher, who never misses a game. London Fletcher in his 13th season. What a classy, smart guy. We talked to him last night. So what are you going to do when you're finished with this? I mean, he'd be a great coach. Coaching or broadcasting? He says, are you kidding? Broadcasting. I'm not going to work the coaching hours.
Yeah, he's been something special.
Anyway, you got Arakpo is down for an injury timeout. Arakpo assisted off the field. Get a report on him. Lorenzo Alexander takes his spot. 2nd down and 5 with the ball at the 34-yard line. And working his way to the outside, but not being able to pick up the first down because LaRon Landry is there to tackle Felix Jones. There's Arakpo. We weren't sure whether it was a cramp or something more serious, but they're stretching him out. He looks a lot better right now than he did 30 seconds ago.
Yeah, we talked about it a little bit earlier, but opening day, you just aren't in game shape yet. It happens to everybody. You just feel like you're going to pass out there because you're not used to playing 4 quarters.
3rd and a deuce from the 37. Choice inside handoff, 1st down to the 45-yard line, where he's tackled by Carlos Rogers.
Nice call that time by the Cowboys. Go unbalanced line. Alex Barron comes over here. Tight end comes to this side. So they get an extra offensive lineman over there. The Redskins playing there in that defense with only 1 defensive lineman in the game. That is, you see them all standing up and milling around, and every time they've been in it, the Cowboys have just run it right at them and have been successful.
From the 45. Barber stays in the block. Pass goes to Austin underneath. Austin over 100 yards tonight. And Austin is out of bounds. We have a flag thrown on the near side of the 47-yard line of the Redskins.
Illegal block in the back. Offense number 80. 10-yard penalty. Repeat, 1st down.
Martellus Bennett, tight end.
Just a great job by Miles Austin. He saw the blitz come out of the 2 inside linebackers, knew his quarterback's in trouble, just sat there. And now here he goes. We talked about he plays like a running back once he catches the ball. And here's Martellus Bennett getting D'Angelo Hall. Nice call. Boy, I tell you, Wade has got to be going nuts. They have made some huge mistakes tonight.
1st and 12. Penalty from the spot. From the 43. Williams. He will go nowhere, getting around the ankle. And right there for the initial hit is Buchanan, and he is still down. And we'll need an injury timeout for him as Arakpo seems ready to come back into the game. Buchanan down, injury timeout here. Buchanan came off. He'll be all right. Has to come out for a play, though. 2nd down and 11. Arakpo is back in the game. Romo changing the call, backing up into the shotgun. And over the middle, nothing happening there for Witten. They've been taking him out of the game tonight. Last year, the favorite target. Witten tonight limited to 1 catch, 7 yards. Austin with 8 catches, and he's been thrown to 8 times, and that other one was negated by a penalty, and the rest of the team with 16 receptions. 3rd and 11.
Des Bryant up on a rookie Kevin Barnes at the top.
They go 4 wide on 3rd and 11. 3-man rush. Romo stepping up, and he goes to Witten, but there's another penalty down back at the 40-yard line against Dallas.
Alex Barron got him.
Holding offense number 71. 10-yard penalty. Repeat. 3rd down.
Arakpo just made too good a move on him. Alex Barron was completely out of position, sat very wide, no question. Good call. Cowboys are going to have to survive their offensive line play until they get their guys back and healthy, and hopefully for them they do. Mark Colombo has been the man at that position for a long time.
Arakpo went right up to Corinthian and patted him on the butt as he made the call, saying, "Glad you saw it." 3rd and 21. No play. False start. So that's going to make it 3rd and 26.
False start. Offense number 68. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Well, Doug Free, we haven't talked much about him. He's done a job. He's a lot better than they were all worried about how good he was going to be over there on that left side, but he's been pretty good. But they have this crowd going now.
For a 1st down, they'd have to get to the 45 of Washington. Romo has to one-hand the snap. Finds Witten over the middle. Decent game, but way short of where they had to go for a 1st. Rodgers makes the tackle, and in comes McBriar in the punting group.
Well, for Wade Phillips, it's been one of those nights tonight. Every time they get something going, they get something to go in reverse.
You have Santana Moss back there. Remember, Buchanan was shaken up, and Moss, with enough experience running back kicks, he's going to let that one go, and that's too deep. We'll start from the 20 with the Washington Redskins. 9:28 left. Redskins leading by 3. Keith Brooking, here he was just before the game tonight.
Yeah. The stage is set. Yeah. The lights are on. Yeah. They have opened the doors to their house. Yeah. Now we got a little situation in our hands. Because we're standing in their home. Yeah. Now, this is what we must do. We gotta fight. Yeah. We gotta bite. Yeah. We gotta scratch. Yeah. We gotta bleed for each other.
Braveheart.
And from the 20-yard line, McNabb against that defense. And that is caught by Armstrong. The first time Brooking did that last year, we talked to him a couple of weeks later, and we said, "What'd your wife say when you got home?" She said, "Who are you?"
Mel Gibson.
But I mean, you see him at times. Keith Brooking, who's been around for a long time, he can look, when he wears the glasses, he looks like an engineer. Well, he went to Georgia Tech.
Smart guy, very calm most of the time.
1st and 10. The ball is at the 30-yard line. And Portis going nowhere. Portis tonight, 16 carries for 37, so nothing on the ground except for McNabb, who had that one big run of 17 yards. Here's Donovan in the 1st half. So 13 to 26 overall, 50%.
But no interceptions.
Yep.
Defense is playing great.
No offensive touchdowns either.
They won a Super Bowl like that in Baltimore with that formula.
They did. 2nd and 10. Pick up the blitz, and then Moss took his eyes off of it. And he knows it. And you had Clinton Portis that time with Brooking. Brooking coming in on the blitz, and there are a few better in the league at picking up the blitz than Clinton Portis.
Clinton Portis said, "You want to bleed? Okay, I got you. Bleed on that." That was a shot inside. Pretty good. Pretty darn good. Pretty bad on the back end, though. You're looking to make a play and pick up a few first downs and bleed this clock. Can't drop balls like that.
3rd and 10. They have Keelan Williams in the backfield. He flares out. McNabb throws over the middle, and that one is incomplete. Armstrong couldn't handle that pass, and so it's 4th down, and they took almost no time off the clock with Dallas to get the ball back.
Well, here you go, Tony Romo. Anthony Armstrong's had a couple of opportunities tonight and hasn't been able to convert on too many of them. That one just thrown behind him, though. Just wonder if the rookie Des Bryant might have his breakout moment here as a punt returner.
Bidwell sends it skyward. It's a low liner, but it's a short kick. And it will roll dead at the 33-yard line with 7:49 to go. Jefferson Memorial here in Washington. Showed you the Lincoln Memorial before, the Capitol building, the White House. And back now to FedEx Field, where over 90,000 have watched a very low scoring but tight game. And now Dallas has it at the 33-yard line, 1st and 10.
Unbalanced again.
Play fake to Barber. And Romo into double coverage, and it's incomplete, intended for Roy Williams.
I'll tell you what, London Fletcher was 40 yards down the field covering Roy Williams. I think this is London right here, going to drop straight back, and anytime you have a middle linebacker in the National Football League that can run with a wide receiver, that's pretty impressive.
Second and 10. Romo. Austin. And Austin gets taken down by Rodgers. And it will be 3rd down and 2, and we are halfway through the quarter.
I don't know about you, but I've become a two-man game like the Lakers or something right now. Give me Jason Witten, give me Miles Austin, and let's go. Nice job up front that time. They picked up the blitz. Well, Tony Romo to hit the man coverage.
9 catches for Austin, 2 for Witten. Witten goes in motion to the slot. Haynesworth is in the game. Choice takes the toss. And then it's Landry coming up from the outside with Fletcher to make sure that Washington gets the ball back with minimal damage.
Brian Arapko is going to get this push right up the middle and just force Tashard Choice back into the backfield a little deeper than he wanted, but they had too many bodies out there. That one wasn't going to work. Doug Free couldn't get outside. And the Redskins D, as they have done all night long, come up big.
McBrier's punt. And that one will roll out of bounds at about the 20-yard line.
Well, for Donovan McNabb, he'll admit he is having a bit of a transition period here. 11 years in the same offense in Philadelphia, and I think everybody here thought it would be a much easier transition, but we talked about it during the open. Mike Shanahan from the Broncos, Kyle Shanahan from the Houston Texans, and Donovan from the Eagles. They had to find a way to blend it together.
Fake, pressure on. Sellers juggles and can't hold on. Sellers coming out of the backfield. Brady James there with the coverage.
Great read that time by Brady James, and that ball hung up for just a second there. I thought for a minute Brady James might be able to find it. He went for the big hit instead, but you'll see it sort of bobbling around here. Hit Brady James right in the knee. Well, he likes playing with Keith Brooking in there, doesn't he? So those two guys compete who's going to get to the ball first.
You get the two guys on the outside, Ware and Spencer, and right now you've got Clinton Portis working his way out to the 30-yard line, where it'll be 3rd down and 2. Pretty big conversion coming up here because of the time factor ticking down. If Washington gets the first down, you begin to chew up that clock.
Boy, how many years have you watched the Washington Redskins and 3rd and 2 and the Hogs and all that kind of stuff?
Right.
I'll tell you, I'm starting to see a little bit more of that classic cutback running style that we've seen in so many of Shanahan's offenses. Clinton Portis starting to make it work. See if they give him a chance.
3rd down 2. Here they come. McNabb gets it away. Big conversion taken in by Santana Moss for a first down. Beats Scandrick to the outside, got position on him, and the next snap will come with about 4:40 to play.
Cowboys blitz both middle linebackers, and here you go on the outside, just one-on-one. Santana Moss been the leading receiver around here for the past 5 years, and Donovan figured it out. I get single coverage, I'm going right there.
Larry Johnson is the back. Look the clock, getting off at 4:45, and now Johnson to the 41-yard line. Cowboys looking ahead, all of their timeouts plus the 2-minute warning. And an injury timeout here because you've got Ware down.
Larry Johnson just, Marcus Ware made a great move to jump inside and make the tackle, but he was off balance and just got trampled by Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson, a guy that's had a couple of 1,700-yard rushing years and never over 1,000 after that, but ran right over to Marcus Ware.
Ware had a neck injury last year. Remember, there was some question as to how much he could play. I think it was before that New Orleans game. That was the night that they thought he'd be out. He was in and made his presence felt, and it ended New Orleans' undefeated bid at that point after 13-0. Some concern now, as you can see on the faces of the guys over at on the Cowboy bench, but Ware is able to clap his hands. And Jerry Jones can only sit back now and probably start to pace. A big sigh of relief over on the Cowboys side. Again.
Well, you go all the way back to Little League football when they tell you not to drop your head, and that's why. Tackle with your face mask, and it's dangerous. You drop that head. Trent Williams, the rookie, came over and gave him a little pat. He knows what kind of talent he's been facing all night.
So 4.5. So we're getting ready to get up in this game, and there he is. So after a pretty scary moment, key plays going back. Washington had a 1st and goal, leading 10-0, and you had Jenkins making that play on Armstrong, and then they called his number again, and it was Jenkins making the play again, and then you had the high snap, the botched hold, the missed opportunity for a field goal, which would have made it 13-0. A touchdown clearly would have made it 17-0, and that's why we're at 10-7 right now. You know, you look at a play like that, you know, in years ago, before slow-mo and super slow-mo and HD, you couldn't get the impact. But every time now on television you see a guy take a hit like Ware hits, you really understand what these guys go through in that situation.
They're big and fast.
Victor Butler comes in to replace him, and McNabb will throw over the middle, and it's Cooley who goes down to make the catch at the 47-yard line for a first down.
Tell you what, Keith Brooking came on a blitz and he got dragged to the ground. I couldn't see exactly who it was. There we go. Watch Brooking coming right over the center, and they're going to grab the back of his jersey, Robach, and just sort of sling him to the ground, and nobody saw it.
And now Dallas getting to the point where they're going to have to think about using their timeouts defensively. 3.5. If they had let that play clock go all the way down. They snap it at 2 and they give it to Portis. And there's a flag down. And Portis picks up 10 pending the call.
Illegal motion, offense number 47, moving forward at the snap. 5-yard penalty, repeat, first down.
Now these guys, when they go in motion and they have to block, they want to take a step towards that line of scrimmage, and sometimes they get called. You must stay parallel to the line of scrimmage. If you take one step forward, they're going to call it. Kind of hard to tell from that angle.
So the clock frozen for the moment at 3:19 on 1st and 15 from the 48-yard line. Portis, huge run. Considering the circumstance, to the 35 he goes, and a first down.
There's the old cutback right there. Ratliff right here. Defensive end over on the backside. And Jamal Brown got just enough of the backside of Marcus Spears. Now they're starting to see it's starting to look like Shanahan's offense a little bit now, isn't it?
Larry Johnson is in the game. Dallas still waiting for that opportunity to take a timeout, but they got to stop him first. Here's Johnson. He wants to stay in bounds, and Johnson does Dallas a big favor by going out of bounds. You can see him starting to stop at the boundary, but he couldn't, and that's a free timeout here for Dallas. Andrea, update.
Yeah, they're calling DeMarcus Ware's injury a neck strain. The doctors have been surrounding him. They gave him the standard concussion test. He tried to stand up, sat back down on the bench, and they are calling his return questionable.
There he is on the sideline right now, 2.5. 2nd down and 9. So the Cowboys still with all of their timeouts plus the 2-minute warning, and Johnson again to the outside, and Johnson will be taken down at the 28-yard line, maybe the 27-yard line. And the Cowboys, for the moment, letting the clock run down, and if they do, it's going to go all the way to the 2-minute warning.
Boy, Anthony Spencer, we talked about him jumping around. That time he jumped inside and cost his team a big run.
And I just don't know why you don't take your timeouts on the front side of it in this circumstance. Whatever. 10-7, Washington. Clinton Portis is the back. It's 3rd and 2. Dallas with all of its timeouts, but they have to stop him here.
Oh boy, the rookie.
False start, offense number 71. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Trent Williams.
Boy, they had plenty of time to talk about it. You see Artis Hicks talking to him, and there goes Trent Williams right here. Donovan got the Cowboys, but he got the rookie too.
And it also takes you 5 yards back if you don't convert here for a possible field goal attempt.
Great point. If you try it and miss it, you're going to give it to him on about the 40-yard line.
Right. It would be a 48-yarder instead of a 43-yarder. And McNabb is going to have to go back to pass and then throw, and that pass is incomplete. Intended for Roydell Williams, Orlando Scandrick holding, and the Cowboy special teams looking to see whether they want to go for 3 or punt, and they're going to punt.
Orlando Scandrick makes up for the prior mistake. Pretty good coverage that time on Roydell Williams.
And now
one-on-one.
Now the punt group comes back. You saw Bidwell coming out, and Gano comes out, and Washington will line up to attempt a 49-yard field goal. Last attempt resulted in a botched hold. This is a low snap, but Bidwell gets the ball down, and the kick is good. Boy, is that a gutsy call to kick a field goal in that situation, because if you don't make it, Cowboys get the ball at the 39-yard line and need only a field goal to tie.
Well, that time Josh Bidwell did his job. A little low, got it down, turned the laces. Perfectly done, but it still doesn't put you out of range. Tony Romo gets a chance to show that he's elevated himself to one of the top quarterbacks in the game. This Washington Redskins team 0-6 within the division. A season ago, Mike Shanahan, Donovan McNabb's first game. How huge would it be to knock off the Dallas Cowboys in the opener?
And if they do, it all goes back to that play at the end of the first half. But instead of running out the clock and just taking a knee or eating it, a little toss to choice, a fumble, and Hall runs it into the end zone, and that's the only score of the night offensively. Or the only score of the night for the Washington Redskins, the only touchdown of the night. Offensively, 6 points. And Gano, a guy who comes in at the end of last year when Sweezum can't do it, with a huge field goal. And now Jerry Jones looking on as his team needs a touchdown and not a field goal.
All 3 timeouts remaining, though, for the Cowboys.
1:50 remaining in the fourth quarter. 6-yard line. This is Kevin Ogletree who goes back to field the kick. First time tonight he's been back. And he brings it up to the 20-yard line. So now we'll see about Romo, and we'll see about a comeback.
Great quarterbacks in big moments. This is how reputations are made. He's done it in the past, and there's no reason to not do it here other than the fact you're playing against the Redskins defense that's been kicking you all night. Alex Barron really has the hat on his head now. He has to make plays.
Williams and Austin go to the left. Bryant comes out along with Jones to the right. Felix in the slot, 4 wide. From the 19-yard line. 4-man rush, slant. Bryant starts to run away from Hall, and finally he's driven back to the ground, but not until he picks up the first down. Landry with the tackle, and Romo says, let's get up and save the timeouts.
I like this Des Bryant. I think that he wants the football in this kind of situation. He did in college. He's just a confident young man. It's not too big for him.
Cowboys 66 yards away. And that pass for Bryant is incomplete. Little room to maneuver there. Buchanan covering. 1:13 left, 2nd and 10.
You know, the Redskins have done a great job. They obviously really studied this Cowboys offense. They've blitzed, they've forced hot reads, and then they've played zones in behind it and have been there when the Cowboys have tried to get the throw out quickly.
They pick up the blitz, and the pass is caught at the 48-yard line. They call Bryant's number again, and Dallas will spend its first timeout with 65 seconds remaining in the game.
Yeah, it's really the Redskins were right where they wanted to be. They come with a blitz off the corner, rotate both safeties over, going to come in here, and then start rotating safeties over. There's really no reason. They got 2 guys right there, and Reed Doughty can't get there. LaRon Landry rolled up underneath it. But Tony Romo stayed patient. He had faith that time in his offensive line to protect against that blitz. Stood there, let the play develop. That was huge. That kid likes it. He has some strong hands, doesn't he?
8 catches for the rookie, 56 yards. Cowboys are 53 yards away with 66 seconds.
Oh, boy.
Oh, and Austin comes across the line.
False start. Offense, number 19. 5-yard penalty. remains, first down.
Oh boy, they would have had him in a big time blitz right there. Everybody was coming off the defensive right side that time. Everybody's coming on this side. And Miles Austin on the other side saw it and couldn't wait.
First and 15. Williams makes the catch, and he'll get taken down from behind, and McNabb is there to say he's inbounds. So stated by the officials. Clock still ticking. They have 2 timeouts left. Don't use one here. And they picked up enough for a first down.
Tell you, Jim Haslett is blitzed on every play. He is not going to sit back and play any prevent around here.
Check it. Second down and 5 from the 49-yard line. And that pass is caught. And here's Witten. And he'll stretch for a first down. And that's D'Angelo Hall making the stop. And now the Cowboys take their second timeout, but they're down to 34 seconds. And Hall is down. Just made the tackle on Witten, so D'Angelo Hall gets worked on.
Got a knee to the helmet. I don't know if that's where the issue is or not.
By rule, because of the injury to the Washington player, they will be charged with their third and final timeout of the ball game.
And that's what happens when there's an injury in this situation. And not only that, but what you have is a situation where Hall has to stay out of the game.
Well, but they used the timeout because of it. Does that now mean he can go back in? I think it does.
Because of that, because in effect it is a timeout, and because of that they get lucky in a sense. They get lucky unless they're going to need that timeout if Dallas scores. But by then, probably too late. At the 43-yard line, 34 seconds. First down. Romo slides into a lot of coverage, and it's knocked down. Intended for Austin, the ball is floating, and Carlos Rogers is there to knock it down with 27 seconds left.
Miles Austin just going to the post right here. And for Carlos Rogers, this is a pretty routine play. You need to make this catch, game over. You make this one. Nobody really messing with his hands. He just missed it.
And with that, the Cowboys stay alive on 2nd and 10. Play clock at 0 as he gets it away. And Landry would have had a pick. The receiver flashing in front of him, and he can't make the pick, so it's 3rd down and 10.
Yeah, I think you just got a rookie mistake right there. You got the blitz coming off of this side over here, and Des Bryant didn't see the hot or didn't recognize it. He didn't turn around, almost cost Tony Romo an interception. He's a good young player, but he is a young player and just about made a huge game-ending mistake right there.
Then they've got Sam Hurd in the game very wide to the left. Austin comes out of the slot. Romo's going to the right side, and that is incomplete. And it will be 4th down as he calls Bryant's number. 19 seconds. Hall with the coverage.
Here we go. Ball game right here. I think you're going to see a blitz by the Redskins. I think you're going to see him try and force a hot. Maybe go to Des Bryant's side, see if he knows what he's doing, and try and make the tackle. You can give him a completion here as long as you tackle him short of 10 yards.
Williams and Austin left and Bryant right. And it's caught over the middle, and getting down to the 12-yard line is Austin, and a timeout with 11 seconds remaining.
Timeout. Dallas. This is their second timeout. It's a 30-second timeout.
31 huge yards.
Unbelievable mistake. Completely blown coverage out here on the outside. Nobody ends up covering Miles Austin. They come on the blitz. Somebody completely blows the assignment, and here we go.
Austin coming out of the slot. Austin tonight, 10 catches, 146 yards.
Well, it is the Cowboys and the Redskins. And the fog's rolling in.
Yes, it is.
I don't know what's going on here.
Low ceiling. And the game on the line with 12 seconds left.
And the Cowboys have a timeout, so they can throw it underneath if they want to.
Four-man rush. Romo intended for Williams, 8 seconds. So still time to throw it underneath if they have to and take a timeout.
Yeah, but here's the thing you have to keep in mind, Al, is that as a defense now, if you catch the ball short of the goal line, your goal is no longer to get the guy on the ground. You want to try and wrap him up, hold him up, let that clock tick. We've seen it happen before. As a receiver, you have to know if you catch it short of the goal line, you have to get down and call that timeout.
11th play of the drive. And that's incomplete. So they're down to one play. They called Ogletree's number there. He's only in for a limited number of plays, and Romo can't get it to him. So it comes down to this, barring a defensive foul. Williams and Ogletree left. Austin and Bryant right. And the Cowboys can take a timeout, and they will.
Out of the game.
Might as well use it.
I think the Redskins and the Cowboys rivalry is back.
I'll say.
I think Mike Shanahan's thinking about his year off, playing golf and relaxing out there. But he said it was kind of boring anyway. He said, you forget that even though I have a chance to play golf, everybody else is working out there.
He said the year away refreshed him. He said, you know, I was able to sit at home and watch games as a fan, which is something he's never been able to do. I mean, he's either played or coached all of his adult life, and so he's had the opportunity, and he would have been enjoying this one a lot more as a fan sitting on the couch at home than right now.
Well, the Redskins paid a price for their last blitz. They've been playing in a pretty soft zone back around the goal line. Probably what you're going to get again. I don't think they want to leave Miles Austin in one-on-one coverage again.
This time
they have a lot of confusion going on here. No timeout left now.
Right. Well,
everybody is messed up. They're going the wrong direction. Everybody's asking questions. How can you screw this up after a timeout?
You got Austin wide to the left. Williams in the slot to the left. Romo under pressure. They nearly got him, and then he hits Williams, but there's a flag down at the 20-yard line. There's a marker down at the 20, which Williams doesn't know about, and it's going to be a hold against Dallas.
As this is a foul against the offense in the final play of the game is over.
I think he said 71. I'm not sure.
He did. Alex Barron tackled him. He wrapped both arms around the defender. And then put his arm around his neck. Unbelievable, right out here. Look at that, both arms go outside, Arakpo, and now a wrap around the neck. Game, set, and match. Mark Colombo, get well soon.
Well, you talked about it at the very top of the game. the reconstructed and revamped Cowboy offensive line, and in the end, it's a killer. It's a killer on the holding call. It's a killer at the end of the first half, and so both halves end with disastrous results for the Dallas Cowboys.
How many mistakes did the Dallas Cowboys make tonight?
Too many.
Wow.
And the Shanahan, McNabb, and make it the Hazlitt era as well because of that defense tonight of the Washington Redskins. Starts with a 13-7 Redskin victory in the gloaming with the low ceiling at FedEx Field.